Hey, can I have that seat, please? Get down.
She's the queen of Westeros.
No, she gets nothing. Okay. Hi. Oh, that's a good face.
We're back.
We're back. We're gonna take rather than go back and watch the old Game of Thrones. I almost said recipes. Episodes. We are going to kind of break down the new ones for season 7 as they happen. Talk about some of our favorite stuff in them and what we think is coming next week. So should be fun.
And I'm just waiting for confirmation that Varys is a mermaid.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen. Yeah, clearly that's gonna happen. So I'm Jordan.
Danielle.
And good to see you all. Danielle, what do you think of the first episode of season 7, Dragonstone?
Dragonstone. So obviously the prediction was that it would be a Daenerys-heavy episode, that it would be focused around Dragonstone.
Yeah. I mean, continue.
So yeah, Dragonstone came up in a lot of different ways, but so we started out with, I think, was the biggest moment of the episode.
Easily the best. That, if anything, I feel like it almost hurt the rest of the episode because the opening with...
a cold opening, which they don't do that often.
Yeah, they do not do the opening without the theme first very often. So seeing Walder Frey, it was pretty obvious what was going to happen, and it kind of took, for me it took about 20 seconds to not realize it. I thought it was a flashback at first, and then once I saw how weird Walder Frey was acting, I was like, oh, okay, I get what's going on here. And yes, Arya had a pretty awesome... her little speech about
the North remembers.
Winter has come for House Frey, and the North remembers. It's a pretty darn cool way to segue into our new season, especially considering the last episode of last season started with hundreds of people being killed at once, and this episode started with not hundreds but lots of people being killed all at once.
I was glad that they brought it back around with the the big deal that it is to kill somebody in your home after they've had food with you. So yes. I like that she was calling them out on all the things. And it was basically Red Wedding Part 2.
And I also think it's really interesting that now, over just the last few episodes, we've had 2 of the kind of pretender houses completely destroyed.
What do you mean by pretender houses?
The Boltons and the Freys. Neither one was a true major house, but they both kind of felt like they should be.
They were recently given more power than they were used to.
Yes, and especially the Freys, and we'll get back to that in a second with the Greyjoys, but the Freys really, if you remember that scene from the end of season 6 where Walder Frey was talking to Jaime Lannister, and he was talking about how
before
important...
he died.
Yeah, right before Arya killed him. He was talking about how important it was that the Freys and the Lannisters have an alliance, and Jaime was basically like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like
you're
you do not
important.
matter. Yeah, you do not matter. Yeah. I thought that was really cool.
Okay, the next thing that happened was the opening scene, and I wanted to jump a theory in there. So one of the big theories that throughout the show is that Sam is the narrator, basically. Mm-hmm. And so one of the clues to that is in the opening scene. It looks very similar to that structure that's at the Citadel.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you think about that. And then how does the map play into that? Is that a map that he's made and is showing the story?
Yeah, and it could explain too why, Jon Snow is shown in this kind of magical light. Obviously, he is an important magical character, but this is the one person who ever treated Sam with respect.
And he admires him beyond.
It's best friend almost to the Frodo. It's almost Frodo and Sam, Lord of the Rings. There's love there definitely.
Oh yeah.
And so you could kind of see if Sam is telling the story, why Jon is such an important part of that story.
That's a good point.
And yeah, I think it could almost be like he's telling the story, because again, we'll probably get to that in a bit. But when he's talking to the Archmaester,
they reinforce that idea by letting him know we tell the stories.
We always tell the stories, and no matter what happens, winter always comes to an end, and we're still here.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what happens in the grand scheme of things, because life goes on.
But it's important to
preserve it. It's important to tell the story, but what the story itself is doesn't really matter that much. kind of what it seems like.
Yeah.
So then, yes, after the intro, we got Bran Stark.
North of the Wall.
North of the Wall, but coming into the Wall now.
Yeah.
He meets Ed.
The new
tells
Lord
him,
Commander.
Yes, tells him about, I know it's the army of the dead. You gotta let me in. And that's all we got from Bran, really. Nothing that crazy there.
No, it was just... But it's interesting to see his arc as a character, because it's like Mira's being like, this is Bran Stark, and he's just like, hey, remember those White Walkers?
Yeah.
Let me in.
When we do see
that's what he cares about now.
We do see the White Walkers, too, marching through, this... with their glowing eyes, marching through the snowstorm, and...
With giants.
With zombie giants.
3 of them I saw.
At least 3 zombie giants.
And did you notice that the one had blue eyes?
Well, a lot of them had blue eyes.
But at least the one big giant
had blue eyes. Oh, the one giant had blue eyes, yes.
Instead of, he's a... Which tells me that he's a white, not
higher
a
up,
walker.
Mm-hmm. So
that's the right words I'm using. Right?
Yes, I think so.
So that's interesting.
Yes.
So I wrote down another theory. Let's see. Oh, so Bran, one of the theories is that the way that the Night King will get through the wall is that Bran will pass through the wall and he has the mark on him.
And it'll break that magic. And that was another thing the Archmaester talked about with Sam. He was like, the wall always stands. And it's like, what if it goes down?
I don't know if I think the mark is what's going to get him through, because, they're not... I feel like if that was the case, they'd be showing that again or reminding us about that. I feel like...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It might have been the fact that he got that mark while in the cave. Maybe if he got the mark while working on the wall or something, it would change the magic. But I think he's going to get through in a different way.
Yeah, they might not even need to bring the wall down. In all honesty,
I kind of go with the theory that they actually helped create the wall.
Yeah.
Because who's better to create a wall of ice than ice monsters? It seems silly that
I do hope they're ice spiders, because they always talk about the ice spiders.
Or an ice dragon.
Yeah, or an ice dragon.
That one's
buried beneath the wall. Yeah.
The spiders are for sure in the books.
Yeah. After that, we kind of got to the big part in this episode. What I feel was
Winterfell.
What's that?
Winterfell.
Yeah, the part of Winterfell, which I think was the most kind of character establishment part of the episode, where we had Jon and Sansa and
all the Bannermen.
All the Bannermen, but Davos was also sitting up.
Oh,
it was those 3 up at the head table who were really making the big decisions. And we have Dragonglass is the most important thing, which comes back up again in Old Town. Mm-hmm. We have now boys and girls are going to be fighting. So
on my notes I wrote really big Little Bear.
Yeah, progressive.
I love her.
Progressive feminism, as Little Bear says, she's not going to sit by the fire and knit while the men go die for her.
Right, and people respect her strongly, and I think that's showing this world is changing. The throne doesn't matter anymore. What gender you are doesn't matter. If you want to survive, let's survive together, and that's kind of part of the theme of this.
And I really liked Jon and Sansa's kind of powers, not really struggle, but they definitely see things in a different way. And I thought Sansa had my 2 favorite lines in the entire episode. I wrote them both down. She yells at Jon and tells him, you have to be smarter than Father and Robb, because they both did honorable, noble things, what they thought was right as opposed to what was...
And she acknowledges that they're right.
Mm-hmm. But she says it got him killed.
Right.
And you can't play that game anymore. And then Jon counters something about Cersei rubbing off on Sansa, and Sansa says, I learned a great deal from her.
Yeah, I think Sansa is really great because, so we have Arya, who's the extreme of chaos, and then her other family members who are just trying to be good all the time, and she actually sees both, I feel like.
Well, because of who she spent time with.
Right.
Yeah.
Her intentions are all good, but she's not to the point of being stupid, and that's the problem. So hopefully she has that good influence on Jon.
What it is kind of interesting, too, is if you think about the way characters have aged in Game of Thrones, your teenage years, especially your early teenage years back then when you were getting married off at 13, 14,
sure.
whatever. Think of the horrible people Sansa has spent her formative years with. Joffrey and Cersei, and then going sent up to Ramsay Bolton and Littlefinger. These are But even more so than her dad, these are the main influences on her life.
But it's countered by the way she grew up in this very sheltered, so she knows both worlds, and I feel like she's able to kind of meld them, and hopefully Jon starts to listen to her more.
Yeah, hopefully.
Then we move to Cersei.
we had Cersei they have the giant map
Yeah.
now, and that was one of the really interesting things I saw about the episode too, with Daenerys and Cersei's kind of juxtaposition, where Cersei is standing over all of Westeros, like towering over it basically, and Daenerys has this, she gets back to Dragonstone and she's, running her fingers along the map. It's like the different ways they kind of view the world.
But at the same time, they're both just power hungry. They want to rule and conquer. They're not necessarily caring about how it happens almost.
Yes. And Jaime is clearly starting to push away from Cersei.
Even more so later in the episode as things progress.
But even here, where she's trying to strategize with him, and he's like, hey, can we maybe talk about our kid that died? And she's like, he betrayed me. That's what she says to Jaime. Tommen betrayed me. Yeah. It's like, Cersei's gone off the deep end at this point.
Well, and Jaime is accurate in the fact of, like, what is this dynasty we're building now? That we're the last ones.
Just us.
They're not. It's not like they're planning on having kids or anything. So he's kind of depressed, I think.
Especially if we've got Euron Greyjoy coming in here. He wants to have kids too, I'll bet.
Yeah. And so he's kind of lost everything that he thought he had, so...
I really liked another of my favorite lines I wrote down when Cersei says, I'm the ruler of the 7 kingdoms, and he says 3 kingdoms at best. Yeah. You got no... he's like, everyone hates us and wants to kill us, and he lists off all these people, and then we get the crow's eye coming in, Euron Greyjoy.
Yeah, before that, though, there is... So one of the theories is the Valonqar killing Cersei.
Yes,
so like
the prophecy.
So one thing that's interesting is about where they're standing on the map. So she's standing on the neck and he's standing on the fingers, which might be a very casual play of like, is he going to be the Valonqar, the little brother that strangled him?
Cersei obviously thinks the Valonqar is her literal little brother in Tyrion. Whereas one of the big theories is, even though they're twins, Jaime is the younger twin, and he definitely, I think, has had a much more expansive character arc than Tyrion. Tyrion has pretty much stayed the same the whole show.
True.
He's great. He's likable. He's like everyone's favorite character. But Jaime has gone from
he's had transformation.
Complete terrible person to almost redeemable at this point. And
he's I think he's still struggling with his identity.
Yes. The swordsman who can't fight anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
So basically, is it going to be Tyrion? Is it going to be Jaime? But then there's also people who say Valonqar is not gender specific. So it could be any little sibling. It could be Arya.
Could be Sansa.
Could be Sansa. Could be Daenerys. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like Daenerys or Sansa would be less interesting.
But I think it would be really fitting if Sansa took her out. I don't think she will. I don't think that's going to happen. But because Cersei thinks Sansa is this kind of simpering little idiot, I think it would be great if Sansa kind of orchestrated Cersei's downfall. But I don't think that's going to happen.
So but, then Euron, like you're heading towards.
I loved Euron Greyjoy. I was really nervous they were going to make him like Ramsay Bolton, like this complete off-the-wall psychopath, just like, I'm going to come in here and kill people because I'm crazy. And he definitely is crazy. You definitely get that sense. But he is a lot more strategic, I think, than Ramsay Bolton.
He's had a lot more experience.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the best admirals in the world.
And he's been all over he's one of the few people who's been to Ashai and he's different. He knows about magic. He's not ignorant to what's kind of happening in the world. And I think that's part of why he just doesn't care that much.
Yeah, he definitely seems like a nihilist. He's not going for anything other than power. And that's kind of why he and Cersei might actually be sort of a good match at this point. Because neither one really cares about anything other than power for power's sake.
Well, the other thing they both want is revenge. They're high.
They both feel like they've been betrayed by their families. Euron by Theon and Yara, and Cersei, she feels like by Tommen, and then obviously Tyrion, and sort of Jaime now. I think she's starting to realize that Jaime's not the ally he once was.
Yeah.
And I know you said Euron bothered you a little bit.
Well, okay, so there's a few things. One, I've heard some people say that they feel like that they changed his character a lot.
They did.
I don't think so. I think it's totally in line with the douchebag who's like, I'm gonna give her my big cock.
Oh, from the show.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you meant from the books.
No, from last season. No, from the book, fine, but like, yeah, they're not playing into like his drug addiction, all of that. But like they are acting like he changed a lot from the previous season. I think he's always been this like tool bag.
Well, and I think that comes with the experience that you talked about. He knows if he came into King's Landing and acted like that, they'd probably arrest him and kill him. If he went up to remember when he tried to walk up to the throne and the mountain took like 2 steps over and he was like, "Whoa, okay, I don't want to,"
Yeah, I think he's the same character that they had him be last season.
Yes, I agree.
I just don't think they gave him a lot of screen time last season, so people didn't get that familiar with it. But I think it was totally in line with what we've seen from him so far. And what threw me off was actually the way he was dressing seemed a little bit modern for this world. But I think in line with his personality. But I think that's maybe what throws some people off is that his outfit didn't necessarily fit in this world.
It was a little. I felt like it was a little over the top, but I also felt like the reason they had him dressed like that was to kind of solidify his place as an outsider. Like he does not belong at all in King's Landing, especially near the Iron Throne. Yeah. He does not belong.
I think he looked like he was in a punk rock band, not in medieval type of time. So.
I really liked though him and Jaime's pissing contest where
2 hands.
Yeah, he talks about having 2 hands and how Jaime was basically like, you traded the phrase for the Greyjoys. Like, what are you thinking? Mm-hmm. But in reality, this is probably the best bet. Cersei and keeping her power. This is probably the best bet they have because they do have finally some ships that can fight against Daenerys.
And they had the phrase, which
armada.
Weren't really that helpful to begin with.
Yeah, all the phrase had was that castle. That's the only thing that mattered with the phrase.
I mean, they were helpful in killing the Starks, of course.
Because they didn't care.
Yeah. Now, what is your theory on what the priceless gift will be?
He obviously thinks he can bring her Tyrion. To me, that's what I really think it is. He thinks somehow he is going to be able to get to Tyrion. I could maybe see too, he might think he's a lot smarter than he is, and I could see him now going to Daenerys and basically trying to one-up, saying like, I won't fight you if you give me this, and kind of trying to play kind of Littlefinger-esque, but obviously not the smartest Littlefinger.
So you think Tyrion is going to be the gift?
I think it's Tyrion.
The other theory out there is what's her name? Ilaria.
Yeah, so not Martell.
I'm sorry.
Ilaria Sand, because she's the paramour.
Yeah, so
the leader of
I actually have a different theory.
Who's that? What's that?
I actually don't think it's a person at all. So I think that they might pull back from the book where he won the Kingsmoot because he had the horn.
Oh, that can control the dragons.
So I think that might be the gift.
That could be good.
Because I think that's an interesting piece of the story that hasn't been brought into the TV show yet. That is way more interesting than him bringing a person.
One of the books, too.
Because it will help even out the power more.
And in the books, too, Euron also has an obsidian suit of armor.
And he had dragon eggs, right?
I think he said he'd seen them and maybe gotten rid of them.
Well, the idea was like that he threw them in the water, but other people think he used them to pay a faceless man to kill his brother. But in the show, he
obviously
his
did
brother.
it. Yeah.
So I think it actually is going to be.
Could be.
I think it might be. I think that would be more interesting because I think part of the problem with Daenerys in this story is she's way overpowered, and if there's something that he can have that will help even out that power, I think that will make a more interesting fight.
Yes. From there, we go to Old Town. We saw Sam with the soup poop montage. Really weird, but definitely gets the idea across that life here at Old Town is not much better for Sam than it was at the Wall. At least
it's better for Gilly, though.
Yeah, it's much better for Gilly. She doesn't have to worry about
being murdered or
raped. Like rapists and murderers surrounding her. So, here we kind of get, Sam telling his story. We talked about it already with the Archmaester. He believes him that the White Walkers are real, but he just says it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, in the grand scheme of things, just let it all play out. Our job is not to interfere. Our job is to tell the story of what happens.
Yeah, and so we see him getting interested in this restricted area and...
the Harry Potter stuff.
Now the idea is, what is he going to learn? What's the big thing? He's definitely going to learn something. There's no reason he's there.
Now, did you catch that? The Harry Potter reference?
I don't know.
So he wants to get into the restricted section, and
like Hermione,
the Archmaester won't let him.
Can't talk.
And then in Harry Potter, Tom Riddle wanted to get into the restricted section, so he asked his favorite teacher, Horace Slughorn, played by the same guy.
Oh!
That was the same guy who played Slughorn in the Harry Potter movies. As
You know,
was the
I
Racer.
didn't make that connection because he looks so different.
Yeah, he does look very different.
But we go back to Sam later when he actually gets in. So right now we go back to Winterfell.
Yes.
And we have Brienne and Tormund kind of.
Yeah.
And then
Tormund telling Pod how
and
lucky he
Baelish.
is for getting his butt kicked by Brienne. So possible still relationship there could be fun. And then yes, we had Sansa and Littlefinger, who she's onto him. Obviously, she knows what he wants, and she basically tells Brienne. Brienne says, "Why is he even still here?" And that's a really good question. I think Littlefinger is not long for this world.
What do you think he really wants? Do you believe that he wants to roll with Sansa by his side? Do you
Yes.
believe he's a Rain? Do you believe...
I think
There's
he
a lot of
wants-
theories around him.
I think he wants Sansa sort of to prove to himself that he can do that because, so much of his life was trying to get Sansa's mother.
Yeah.
I just think...
Do you think he's a Rain? Because that's another theory.
Yeah. No, I don't. I think he's just some smart guy who...
I think that it's more likely he is revealed as a Rain in the book than in the show because
That
the
wouldn't
Rains
matter,
aren't really
yeah.
a thing.
If you don't know, the Rains are the family that the Lannisters butchered where the song The Rains of Castamere, which is kind of the Lannisters song, comes from. And there's some theories that the reason Littlefinger wants revenge is so he can... Because he's a Rain. He's the last Rain. He wants revenge on the Lannisters.
Yeah.
I think in the book it might happen. In the movie, it doesn't matter. Or in the show, excuse me. But yes, I loved Brienne's line about why is he still here, and Sansa kind of had this look on her face. So she thinks she's using Littlefinger, I think, for something, which the Knights of the Vale obviously are a powerful force.
And I feel like she needs to feel some sense of security and power, and all the other armies there are really Jon's.
Yeah.
And she feels like Baelish's army is hers, because
Yes.
if she wanted, they would follow her to do a different plan than what Jon's doing.
Littlefinger's a tough one to scheme against, though. I mean, he's routinely shown himself to be the cleverest character on the show.
Yeah, but she does know that she believes that he's basically in love with her, that he feels guilty about the Ramsay situation.
Yes.
So she does feel like she has some control there.
Yes. So we'll see what happens there. I do not think Littlefinger is long for this world.
Yeah.
Then
Arya and Ed Sheeran?
The Ed Sheeran cameo was whatever, but it was a little shoehorned, I felt like.
So you know that they surprised Arya with that in the scene.
Yeah.
Could you tell that she was surprised to see him? Or do you
No.
feel like she held it together?
Well, I mean, I don't think they really surprised her that much.
You don't think so?
Because
That's what I heard.
I think they probably maybe, I don't know. But I mean, everyone knew he was showing up this season. It was all over the place.
Now.
Oh, I had read about it like months ago.
Yeah, but I mean, post them filming it. Is what
I don't know. I suppose it's possible they surprised him, but
I don't know. They really like to do like pranks on one another and stuff.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know if the particular scene they filmed was the one where she was surprised though.
I really liked that scene though.
I did too. I think it was
this
telling.
this idea of, Arya meeting some Lannisters who don't want to fight. They just want to get back to their families and be with their wives and their kids. And
I think that's a theme throughout this episode. Are the allies or the people connected to my enemies my enemies? We have that with Sansa and Jon with the Umbers and the...
just because they did
Just
this,
because they are connected to them in some way, does that mean that they're bad and going to continue to be connected with that train of thought if they have other options? And I think maybe Arya is starting to realize that maybe not everyone connected to the link, because she's kind of been on this power just revenge Lady Stoneheart-esque craze, and maybe she's going to become a little bit more human.
Yes. I liked when the soldier was like, my mother always told me to be kind to strangers, and
they'll be kind to you.
Yeah, I liked that. And then when she says, I'm going down to King's Landing to kill the queen, like, ha ha ha, that's funny.
So do you think that the next episode, if they return to that scene, do you think she's going to murder them, or do you think she's going to let them go?
I think she's going to let them go.
I think so too. I think she's going to show some redemption, because I feel like in some of the previews and some of the pictures we've seen her actually kind of reunite North.
Yeah.
And so this might help derail her from
going
to kill Cersei.
That is one thing too, though, that gets me is, the one family member Arya ever truly identified with was Jon, and it kind of amazes me that it seems to me like she would have heard that Jon is alive, and he is the king in the north. He has Winterfell, and it seems to me like she would make a beeline for Jon if she found out he was still alive.
Well, that's the question. Has she become no one, or does she still retain that Arya?
Well, she says she's Arya because she says it over and over and over.
But is she fighting with that in her head?
Yeah, that's possible. After that, we get the cool scene with the Brotherhood and the Hound, where they go to the inn where the Hound had mugged these people. What was that, like 3 seasons ago?
It wasn't an inn. It was the family's home.
But it was like 3 seasons ago, wasn't it?
It was when he and Arya were together and.
Yes, and he didn't want to go in, but they did. They needed to, and the bodies were they were starving to death, and the father, I think, took his daughter's life and then his own life, so they wouldn't have to starve to death. And
part of the reason they are starving is because he stole from them, and so it's showing some of his redemption of that he kind of wants to redeem himself. He buried the bodies. That's not something he would have done previously.
Yes. And then he looks into the fire under Thoros of Myrs, who's a priest of the Red God. He looks into the fire and has his vision. He sees the wall of ice. He sees the army of the dead.
What area? The arrowhead? What's that called?
It's the... Eastwatch by the Sea. Eastwatch by the Sea, which is one of the castles that we didn't talk about. The Wildlings now are going to man the castles. Tormund Giantsbane and his group of, or the Free Folk as we call them now, not the Wildlings. They're going to be manning the wall now to defend against the Walkers. So the Hound basically said, I see this in the flames, which kind of seems to indicate that the Brotherhood is now going to head north as well. So we could get a Hound being reunited with Arya if she decides to go north, that would be a really fun, because that was a great pairing, but now their roles have essentially flipped, where Arya is the one who gets pure joy in murder, and the Hound is the one who's kind of seeking redemption. And
the other thing I thought was good that when I thought they gave a little nod to the gravedigger theory by showing him digging a grave. It was a very small nod to maybe book readers.
And I also really liked the first thing he said when he looked into the fire was, I see a mountain, which kind of implied, which then he amended it with the Army of the Dead. He looks like an arrowhead, all that stuff. But
that's his brother's name if you somehow.
And his brother is also dead as well. A zombie now. So when he says, I see a mountain and I see the army of the dead, those could be one and the same. So that could be a hint to come.
Well, one of
the
theories that I've been hearing is we basically have these ice zombies, but we also have fire zombies. We have Beric Dondarrion. Help.
Close enough. Dondarrion. The Lightning Lord.
Yeah, we have
with
Jon
the flaming
Snow.
sword and the ice patch. Yes.
We have the mountain. All of them have been raised from the dead using the other magic.
Yes. Although the mountain was raised by an entirely different magic.
We don't really know.
Probably, but some sort of like necromancy, it seems like. Qyburn is not a red god priest.
Right, but we have these zombies that are not raised by whites. They were raised by other methods and basically magic in different ways. So.
And I really like, too, the idea that the Hound could just see this all of a sudden. People always look into the fire. Even Melisandre said she would look into the flames and she wasn't sure, what she'd see. His
vision was very clear, and it was obvious that the Brotherhood was shocked by that.
Yes.
As people who see things regularly.
And this might be because the Hound was burned. That's why, his brother held his face in flames. And so maybe there's something with this idea of, like, if you've been touched by flame, you might...
Ooh, I just got an idea.
Uh-oh.
So that...
Merman?
Yes, actually. Varys, his body parts were burned, right? And they said, what did you hear in the flames? So maybe there's a thing about your body being burned.
It's true.
Because you think about how Jon was raised, they burned some of his hair too. So there might be an aspect of if you get burned, that gives something, that means something to the Lord of Light.
Maybe.
Or that, whatever that actually is.
That's a possibility.
So yeah.
And I did, that one last thing about that scene for me, I really liked too, that Beric basically says, like, I don't know what he wants from me. Like, kind of that the Lord moves in mysterious ways. Like, he's just like, clearly he wants me here for some reason. He's brought me back to life like 6 or 7 times at this point.
But I don't know what it is. And John kind of thinks the same way. Like, what am I so special about? Why did he bring me back? And, Melisandre thinks it's because he's super important. But it's like, okay, well, what is important about...
Yeah.
What's his name again? Beric?
Beric.
Thanks.
It's very possible that, Beric has been brought back over and over so that he can take the Hound north, or so that he can, there's a billion things.
I have heard the theory that Beric will actually be Azor Ahai, because he does have the flaming sword.
It's possible.
So, who knows? It might be a Harry Potter thing where, like, the person who actually saves the day is not this main character you thought the whole time, but...
It's Neville Longbottom.
Yeah, who knows? I mean...
And then from there...
Back to Sam.
Yes, we went back to Sam, where he's broken into the restricted section, he's stolen the keys.
He's reading Legends of the Long Night.
Did you notice he flips past the dagger that was used to almost assassinate Bran way back in episode 1, or season 1.
And we've seen in pictures of Arya that she has the dagger in some of the promo stuff, so we know she's going to go north because of that. And that dagger is super interesting because it's both... has dragon bone on it, and
the handle is dragon bone,
and it's...
So what is it? It's the obsidian, it's the dragon glass.
I feel like it's going to be important. They're showing it again.
Yes.
We know she's going to get it.
And what's so important, though, about this ending scene with Sam, this near the very end?
Jorah!
Yeah, Jorah Mormont is in the solitary confinement, basically. Remember, he has grayscale. It's probably really bad. He plunges his hand out, and you just hear his voice asking about, is the Dragon Queen here yet?
So we know he hasn't lost his mind yet.
No. But he looked pretty bad. And Sam recoiled from him, like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Which also, Sam's just kind of a wimp, so, it might have just been a freak out. But grayscale is super contagious.
Yeah, you don't. So, the idea maybe is that they're working on curing him. I heard an idea that you could be cured from grayscale by... ingesting Dragonstone. Dragon glass, I mean.
Okay. Interesting.
The other thing they find out is that there's basically a huge mountain of dragon glass on Dragonstone.
Dragonstone is over the top of this pile, this massive cache of dragon glass.
And he tells Jon, so that's going to be part of why Jon goes to meet with Daenerys, I think. So that's kind of foreshadowing that important event.
Mm-hmm. And then finally we get to our very last scene, which finally...
Wait. Oh. Do you think Jorah's going to get healed there?
No. I think Jorah's going to die this season.
Okay. Well, he could die after being healed too, but...
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not 100% that the Maesters necessarily are looking for a cure. I'm more of the mind that they might just be studying grayscale.
I think grayscale is super interesting. I'd like them to talk more about it.
Yeah. Then finally we get the last scene. We finally get to Daenerys in this pretty powerful scene, even though there's almost no words in the entire scene. Even Tyrion, who's quiet, or who's loud
biggest
constantly,
disappointment of the episode is
didn't have a single line.
No Tyrion's lines.
Yeah, didn't have a single line.
The scene where she touches the ground that she was born on, basically.
Yeah, she's being followed through, the castle by Grey Worm and Missandei and Tyrion, and finally discovers the throne and the map. And then the last line of the episode says, "Shall we begin?" Like, all of this, the previous 6 seasons have been just kind of whetting your appetite, and now we finally got here.
So I wrote down 2 questions for you.
Okay.
What do you think she's going to find at Dragonstone?
I don't think she's going to find anything super significant, personally.
Because, so there's ideas that there might be more dragon eggs there.
Possibly.
There's obviously some ancestry type of stuff that maybe she'll uncover. Because I know there's still theories that she wasn't actually born there.
Yeah.
With the whole lemon tree thing. Maybe. So, and then my other question was, what is her plan?
That's a good question. We saw it in the preview for next week, which that's where we're headed next, is for what's going to happen next week.
Yeah, and we can tie that up.
Yara says, let's do it now. Let's do it. We've got the Dothraki, we got the riders, we got the dragons, and we've got the fleet.
Which is very smart, because in reality, the longer they wait, the more Cersei is trying to build something.
Yes. And the next episode is called Stormborn, correct?
I know that's one of these first 3.
I think it's the next one. It might be the third one, but we might get the big sea battle if Euron is off, especially if he's off to get Tyrion as the gift or whatever. We could have the big fight between the Greyjoys and the other Greyjoys.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be interesting. Otherwise, I don't think she really has a plan, and I think that's always kind of been Daenerys' downfall.
Yeah.
Is that
I'm moving forward, but and don't know what I'm doing.
Yes.
I'm just gonna move forward.
And especially when you look at her character
chaos behind.
in the, I mean, again, to go back to the books, she's only like 14 years old in the book. So obviously this idea of her being this, military commander is kind of ludicrous.
And she doesn't have a lot of her advisors. The only one that really is Tyrion.
Yeah, like
actually knows how the politics works.
And obviously Grey Worm is a military mind,
but a very specific, narrow
battle.
one.
Yeah, a battle mind.
And Yara is the same way. She has that mindset, but hers is also pretty narrow. So I think she has all the pieces if she actually works together and utilizes. And I do think that's a strength of hers, is that she has this team.
She defers to people,
whereas Jon is still struggling with that, like, I need to show that I'm powerful, even though I don't want power, and I'm like a little bit of an angry teenager about it.
Yes.
So you have
to question me in front of the other lords.
Right, he's still a little sexist.
Yeah, he is.
Like, he still sees that, and the North is really changing that. Bear Island, the Free Folk, those two places don't care at all about that.
Yeah, if you're a good fighter, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and so I think he's starting to turn, and Daenerys is a good example of that. What else do we see? We see a wolf that is... Oh,
in the trailer, yes, there is a wolf. Most people are speculating it's Nymeria, who is Arya's wolf that was let go. It's like the third
First
episode.
season.
It's like the third episode ever, because it attacked Joffrey, and so she makes it run away. And in the books, the wolf leads this massive wolf pack, and Arya dreams as the wolf.
And that might be another key thing that reminds her to go back home. Is she runs into her wolf and she takes them home and remembers the phrase that's been in the preview for this episode, or just this season, I guess, was the lone wolf dies, the pack survives.
Yes.
And so that might bring her back to her pack.
Yes. What's left of it.
Yeah. Which, speaking of, we didn't see Ghost.
Yeah. Well, Ghost, Ghost is gone now. Didn't Jon send Ghost up north because he was worried that if Ramsay beat him, Ghost would die? I thought that's what happened to Ghost. I might be wrong, but...
I hope not.
We might get a zombie direwolf then. That would be kind of cool. There's also a really short clip in the next week on Game of Thrones of Littlefinger being choked or something.
I didn't catch that.
It's like near the very end. He's got that like something is happening to him. Could be Jon. It could be Brienne. Could even be, I could even see someone like Pod. Maybe he catches him scheming against Brienne. Who knows? But Littlefinger, even if he's not going to die soon, he's wearing out his welcome real fast.
Yeah.
He's not trusted. He's not liked, even though he did save the day.
Do you think if he gets killed, will the Veil still be on Sansa's side?
Yes, because of what's-his-face.
Do you think he cares enough about Sansa?
Little guy?
Little Robin?
Little pea pants guy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has a big crush on Sansa. I think that would almost default that way.
You think so? Because I don't think anyone else had as much of an influence on his decisions.
Yes.
As Baelish. I don't know if he respects a woman's military type of thing, but if his guys, are they considered bannermen?
Yeah.
His army, basically, if they're on board, then that will help too.
But technically, the Knights of the Vale are on the Stark side as well, because they're Tully bannermen.
Right, but they were kind of like, we're just going to stay here and be safe.
But now that they're out, they might.
It might not matter anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought the preview went really fast. It was hard for me to catch a lot.
It was
what
hard.
was happening. And I hope that the episode, so the first episode, and that's generally the case, is like try to touch on all these stories and not necessarily go in depth in a lot. I hope that the next episode doesn't do that.
Focuses a little more. It was kind of unfocused.
Focuses more, yeah.
It was basically
we know we're going to touch on Daenerys. We know we're going to touch on Arya, Jon in the north. I hope we don't go too much further than that.
Really the only characters I can think of that we didn't see were the people in Dorne. We didn't see Olenna Tyrell, we didn't see the Sand Snakes, we didn't see Ilaria.
They're not in Dorne anymore, right? They're on these boats.
I don't think Olenna and Ilaria were.
Oh.
I think they were still in Dorne. It's possible.
I thought that into the last season we saw everybody on those boats.
Yeah, but like Olenna's not a soldier. She's not going to go out on those boats.
I thought we saw her on the boats, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not usually.
Yeah, you have better memory than I do, that's for sure. So that is our preview and our predictions for next week. So, big predictions. Who's going to die next? Do you think anyone's going to die in the next episode?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to die in the next episode.
No one that has a name.
Yeah, named characters, other than maybe Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran might die.
Is he a named character?
I imagine his name is, like...
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran.
Eddie Shears.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anyone's going to die next episode, but I do think people are going to start falling soon.
So who do you think is going to be the first death of the season? Lily's adjusting her bed.
I think Littlefinger. I think Littlefinger's going to go down soon. I think Brienne asked the important question, why is he still here?
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of reason for him to still be there. What about you?
I think that's a good guess. That's hard. I think maybe... I have a really good answer for this.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't. I think that old Dondarrion... What the fuck is his name?
Beric Dondarrion. How hard is that?
Beric Dondarrion. I think he is... So we know in the book, spoiler, he's dead.
Yes.
He
gave
died.
his life to bring Lady Stoneheart, who is the zombie Catelyn Stark, who kind of seems like her story's been absorbed into Arya's a bit.
Arya and Sansa almost, like this kind of the revenge stories that they're both kind of leading. I think he might be the next to die to somehow help validate the Hound instead.
Yes.
And like give him some power or some... I think that might be a next one. Because one, he's already dead in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And two, unless he's going to be like some big deal, he doesn't necessarily have anything left to do except give his life for somebody like he does in the book. And
then postulating about, how are you important? And he's basically like, I'm not. Like, that could be kind of an indicator that he's not that important. He might just be there to serve a specific purpose, and maybe he served it now. Maybe his purpose was to get the Hound to look into the fire. Maybe that's all the Lord of Light needed him for. So
I think I'm going to put my money on him.
Okay. Sounds good.
And yours is on...
Littlefinger.
Old Baelish head.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we'll be back with the next episode.
Thanks for watching.
Goodbye, butters. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.